Star Citizen's year of stability and playability, it strikes again. This latest patch is not in a good way. Now, the problem is, when CIG say things like this,
I've said this before, I've said it internally, I've said it out there, I'm gonna say it right now again on camera. I think this has been the best year of Star Citizen ever, and I'm willing to look right into the camera and say that.
Now, he's right. There's been a lot about this year that's been very good, but if you were a casual follower of this game and you saw that, you might think, well, maybe Star Citizen's in a really good place. Maybe I should play it. Maybe I should try it out. Maybe I should buy myself a spaceship. But CIG are not really acknowledging, at least, I suppose they're never going to acknowledge it at CitizenCon. They're not acknowledging that this year has been, on one hand, very positive. The content and everything has been great. There has been improvements in stability, but it's still been completely broken at various points. Obviously, we had all of the freight elevator issues where the major event that CIG were running just didn't work. And this current event, I tried it out the other day on stream and it was pretty 50-50. There's major issues. I was sent a message on Discord just saying, have you noticed that this is completely broken? And then on Spectrum as well, there's posts like this. Why was this patch pushed in this state, especially going into weekend? I've been in the Verge for about 6 or 7 years now. I was tracking SC before that. This is up there with the most broken patches I've seen. There's been all sorts. Logging issues, which that can happen. There's been workarounds posted by CIG. Wicklow has been turned off. And it's just another one of those times where it feels like CIG just threw this out the door because they had to. Which is exactly what they said they'd do at CitizenCon. Listen to this.
The mantra that I've always been pushing this year at the beginning of January was patch always goes. And I think this year has seen a different development strategy for how we've been moving the game forward.
Now, that has its pros. We've had many more patches this year. The content has been good on the whole. But the flip side of that is that we've had also many experiences where they've pushed patches that they should never have pushed. And they'll argue that this is all a live testing environment, like the PU is still a testing environment, but then on the other hand, they will also say this game is live, it's sort of released, like they will have it both ways. But I think it's fair for us to push back a little bit and say, what I said actually in a video earlier this year, that something has to change in the way that they push out their patches, or whether it's a slight tweak in this patch always goes mentality, because that's fine, but when the patch doesn't work, it doesn't feel great to be on the end of that.
Every decision we've made this year has been through the lens of making the live experience as stable and as good as possible.
Absolutely.
I don't want to call anybody a liar, but I'm not sure that phrase or that statement is completely true. I mean, I think a lot of the decisions have been made for the benefit of the whole project. Getting patches out means more content, means more ships, means more sales, means more developers, I suppose. But to say that every decision has been made with stability in mind, I think this patch proves that that's not the case. And if they'll say, well, we didn't pick up this stuff in the PTU and it only became apparent when it went live, I would say, well, I mean, this happens almost every patch. And so you've got to, again, change something in the way you do things. And then the actual event, I went on stream and I played this, and I would say 50% of the time it kind of worked. And for me, 50% of the time it didn't. So we had just mission components not appearing, not spawning, handing in the data pad into the elevator, and the elevator just said, nope. Still problems with the freight elevators and inventory stuff. And that doesn't even talk about the fact that actually, I think this is potentially the most uninspiring event that they've put out in maybe ever. The rewards are very, very underwhelming. Yes, fine, the first tier is some clothes, but then a paint for a vehicle that hardly anybody, I think, will own. And then the last tier, again, just 2 ships for, again, do you own those? For me, it's madness that they're not doing this, where they basically say, well, if you complete the event, here's 5 skins for different ships and you can choose which one you want. I mean, that's surely the obvious way to do this. I mean, the actual major issue with the event for me this time is that, again, this has gone back to some of their kind of older ones where it's just repeating the same missions over and over again. And it's not a very fun mission, in my opinion. Like, fine to do it once or twice, but to complete the track for the first tier of rewards, you've got to do it 15 times. And then if you want to do it again for the other gang, you got to do it another 15 times. And again, if it only works half the time, the numbers is starting to get crazy. And that's the hardest mission. If you do the easier missions, it's going to take you ages. It's basically all the same mission. You go into some sort of outpost or area, you shoot some people, and you either find a data pad or you loot a data pad. Like, it's totally uninspiring. And I know this is only the first week, and next week there'll be a new set of missions, and then the final week there's the kind of hunt the Polaris thing. But to me, this is so, is it fair to say lazy? The community has been quite vocal about having things to grind for. I think I've even talked about that's not necessarily a bad thing. And it does seem as though with a lot of the mission content and the Wicklow stuff, CIG have heavily leaned into MMO side of things. I think they've probably leaned too far into the grind submissions for reward thing, because this isn't fun. To me, the common sense on this one would be the rewards aren't very good, the mission's not very interesting. Let's just make people do this kind of couple of times. I mean, you can have your own fun. I had some fun doing this because I was playing with other people. I was on stream. I got rescued. I fell off a Polaris. I mean, Star Citizen still has its magic moments. I still think that you can have fun doing this sort of stuff. But the actual content that they've given us to play this patch is totally uninspiring. The problem might be, and I think this was something that Jared hinted at when he talked to Benoit and the SCL, was that their patch frequency this year potentially has just meant that they've got no time to think and to design better missions. And this effectively is using a template they've been using for lots of events. Potentially because they're working at such a pace to deliver a patch every month. And like Rich says, it always goes. There's just no scope for creativity and good mission design. And all of this is worrying, I think, if you look at where this is heading next year. And obviously at CitizenCon, they showed us tons of stuff for Nix, tons of content. But if it doesn't work, or if it's badly designed and it's not fun, what's the point? I mean, I'm sure those events that they showed us and those activities, sandbox activities they showed us, they'll vary. Some will be really fun, other people will find this one fun, some will find that one fun. But if they come into the game broken, like a lot of things have happened this year, a lot of the content that's come in, we look back now and say, oh, what a good year. We've had Hathor, we've had the Onyx stuff, all the stuff. But there's been serious levels of brokenness in those areas and events as the game has been released this year. And so I'm going to be very interested to see what they say towards the end of the year. I expect that we'll get a letter from the chairman, and I expect they will realign their patch frequency going into 2025. And I don't expect to see a patch every year. Again, Jared hinted at that. And if they don't do that, I just think, what are they thinking? Because yes, this has been the best year for Star Citizen, but it hasn't reached the levels of playability, stability, all that sort of stuff of a real game. It's still miles off. No other game that I can think of releases patches that they pretty much know are broken, and then they just say, well, we'll just hotfix in the couple of weeks after. That isn't like standard practice. That's not how this works. If you're saying this is a game that you can play right now, which they have said at this CitizenCon, tens of thousands of people playing this game every day, well, then you can't release patches where it's just broken. You can't do that. And so they have to change something. Whether they will or not, I don't know. I mean, this turned into more of a rant than I thought it would be, but let me know what you think. Maybe you've had a great experience with this event. Maybe you love the MTC and you love that skin. Let me know in the comments. For me, after, not the high of CitizenCon, I think on the whole, CitizenCon had some good stuff in it. But after that, to then just flop it basically a week after and release a patch like this in probably as bad a state as we've seen all year, it's not ideal. And let's see. I mean, Nix in theory is coming pretty much next up. I really hope that is in a better state than this one.